Hello, Guilty Feminists. This is Deborah. On this very special episode, I am joined by writer, theatre maker, and founder of Mothers and Others Who Make, whose new novel, No Season But the Summer, is published in April. Please welcome to this special culture episode of The Guilty Feminist, Matilda Liza. Woo! So, Matilda, we're so thrilled to have you back on the show. We had you on a live show. It was a very memorable one because I think you brought both your mother and your child.
Exactly. Yeah, very apposite for the novel. I ended up on stage with my mother and my daughter, her granddaughter, who fabulously upstaged me because at the time all she used to say was "baby's bum" in a very cute voice, which is what she did right on cue when I was trying to answer a very serious question from the audience.
How old was she then?
She was one, yeah.
How old is she now?
She was 1 and she's now 6. She's downstairs.
Oh my goodness.
She's 6 watching Netflix.
Excellent. Well, I'm delighted to hear she's well. She's well. The listeners will want to know. There's many people who loved that episode.
She's good. She's right more than me. She's prime, I would say, absolutely ripe for the guilty feminist in her future life. Because I've always been a bit of she's already well ahead of me with the makeup and she's just much more glamorous than I ever was. I was always a bit of a,
Well, we look forward to having her on when she starts creating her own stuff. Exactly. In the meantime, you were talking to us last time about Mothers Who Make. Now, how do we say it now? It's M/others.
Well, that's a good question.
It's Mothers and Others.
So I'm in the process of launching a new project where we are going to introduce a / into our name. So it will be M/others Who Make. How we vocalise that, because obviously that's the / is a kind of secret line that slips in. I don't yet know. This is my first chance to talk about it. So, the / was actually suggested by Stella Duffy, who I think you know.
I do.
Fabulous Stella, because she comes under the others category. And I've realised so I've been leading Mothers Who Make for about 9 years now. And it started out in response to my own need as a creative, becoming a mother and going, oh, heck, how do I sustain my practice alongside my caring role when everybody's telling me that that's impossible? But to me, they feel really connected. And I've realised over the time of leading it, I never intended it to be an international movement, but clearly I'm not alone in this particular, I think it is a particular wave of feminism that we're facing, really, of having been kind of grown up, told we can have it all, and then get to a certain point. Some of us choose or get to have kids and go, oh, shit, actually, it's not that easy to have it all. How the hell did you do this? So Mothers Who Make is about addressing that question, but I'm fundamentally interested in diversifying and expanding the conversation, because underneath it really is a much deeper conversation that doesn't just apply to the role of motherhood, that is about care. And, we all, whether we have kids or not, we all hold caring roles, and how that sits alongside creative practice is something that I think is really important to hold space for, because they're often seen as, still there's a kind of narrative where you suffer for your art rather than actually being able to look after yourself and others and make stuff, Yeah, so I'm introducing the idea of the / for all sorts of reasons, but to welcome the likes of Stella and others into the conversation, because I'm very aware that mother is a really highly problematic identity and word that excludes many people.
I mean, also, I want to celebrate our mothers. I don't want to feel like we can't have something called Mothers Who Make that is for mothers. I think that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like there are many ways that we mother. I mean, I'm not a mother. I tried to have children and I couldn't. I don't mind mothers being together and having things that I don't have, because I have other things that mothers don't have, like time and not being woken up at 4 a.m, but and all sorts of other things that has allowed me to be more creative in my own space. But I also do love the idea if it's something that you want to open the doors to, because there are people who are parents who wouldn't call themselves mothers. There are people who are stepmothers. There are people who are carers in other ways, and who might go, oh, I'm not a mother who makes, but I am someone who identifies with the same problems. And those people may wish to join that group. So I think it is a lovely thing to extend it and to celebrate mothers, but also to enjoy the company and also the ideas and inspiration and sometimes the resources of others who are drawn to that same group. So I'm excited about that. Matilda, we play a game at the top called I'm a Feminist But, even of our culture episodes. So I'm going to say I'm a feminist but. I started reading your book and I'm a little bit jealous. I'm a little bit jealous of how you've written a novel and you've finished it and you've done it really, really well. And so I am embracing you. I am wanting to shine a light on you. I'm wanting to shout out from the rooftops, read Matilda's book. But also I'm going, bloody hell, she's got kids and she's finished her book. I'm still writing my book. I'm a feminist, but in order to write my novel, I let my daughter play with Barbie. I let her watch, at the moment she watches all sorts of kind of very girly slime making videos on YouTube, like endless. Girly slime making videos?
Fluff.
Oh, I see. Wow.
You are?
Femme slime. Well, listen, hey, I think that's guilty feminism in a nutshell. The femme and the slime. I'm just saying. Listen. My mum wouldn't buy me a Barbie because she thought they would I guess she thought they were hypersexualized or something. So I had a Cindy, which was just, I don't know, she seemed a bit more wholesome in my mother's eyes, I think. But I always wanted a Barbie for that reason. So I think the best way to get a kid over Barbie is buy a Barbie. Also, hasn't Barbie, she's modernized, hasn't she, Barbie? She's more feminist now, hasn't she? I mean, I don't think she was at the vanguard of the sisterhood, I'll be honest, but she's caught up because she doesn't want to lose sales, I reckon.
It's quite interesting. You can get obviously you can now get a Barbie with different coloured skin. You can get a Barbie in a wheelchair. You can also get I can't remember exactly what they're called, but basically
all different sizes,
Barbie.
All different sizes, body shapes,
where she can actually move. That's the most revelatory thing. We've got one where her knees bend and her hips, and like yoga Barbie, basically.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, listen, it was fully worth it because this book is great. Let's talk about it. Could you tell us the title of the novel?
It's No Season But the Summer.
Now, on the front, the reason I'm asking you to say the title, on the front cover of the book the copy that I have, which is an advanced reading copy, it says, "Spring and summer are my mother's time. Autumn and winter are my husband's time. What is left for me?" Which is absolutely beautiful and really plays into this mothers/others who make. Could you tell us, because this is based on a Greek legend, isn't it?
It is, and I promise this book took me so long to write, so I actually conceived this book in the same week as I conceived my son, so it absolutely parallels my mothering journey. But that was 12 years ago. So I started this book before Greek myths became so sexy and trendy. So it's based on the Persephone Demeter myth, which is the Greek, ancient Greek origin myth for the seasons, which says that Persephone was stolen by Hades. The classical original myth is often called the Rape of Persephone, stolen by Hades, king of the underworld, dragged down underground against her will. And that was all very unfortunate. And her mother, Demeter, goddess of the harvests, was so distraught that she, tore her hair out, wept. And as a result, the earth, the life on earth began to perish. The crops died. And this was not very good. So basically, a deal was struck. There's various different versions, but in one version, Hades, you can come back out from the the land of the dead, if you've not eaten any of the food of the dead. But Hades tricks Persephone into eating some pomegranate seeds, So looks like things are scuppered, but then they figure out a deal where she's going to spend half the time under the ground, half the time above the ground. And when she's above the ground and with her mum, things are rosy and spring and summer happen. And then every year when she goes back down underground, her mother is distraught again, and autumn and winter come about. That's the original myth. But I put a different spin on it.
What drew you
version
to make this a novel? What about this myth made you think, I've got to write a novel about this? Because writing a novel is very difficult. And I think you've got to really, really want to do it.
Really
and
difficult.
Finishing a novel is way harder than writing a novel. And finishing it well enough that it can be printed is extraordinary. So what made you go, come on, this needs to be told?
To be honest, as so many of the things I do are, including Mothers Who Make, we talked about, I did it by accident. So I'd never intended to write a novel. Didn't think I could. But I've got an academic background. I come from a family of Oxford academics, and then ran away to join the circus, and ended up working with a company called Improbable, who are improvisation based. And it took me a while to realise that actually I never thought I could write anything. And then I started applying what I'd learnt with Improbable to writing, as opposed to what I'd learned academically. And then I discovered that I wanted to write, and that what I was writing was not academic essays anymore, but was kind of fantastical. And I was drawn to this myth because I never intended to write a novel about the climate crisis. What a horrifically daunting idea that would be. But I do know something about difficult mother-daughter relationships. I was drawn to this myth partly because of that. And partly I am fascinated by myths, and particularly origin myths. And if you take this origin myth seriously, because it's an origin myth for the seasons, it's still happening. You can't take it seriously and not go, that's still going on. And I found that a really fascinating proposition to go, wow, what happens if that's still they're still stuck in that mother-daughter dynamic where she's, and then in the context of today, of course, that does end up being about the climate crisis. And I was fascinated also by the fact that in the original myth, it's also kind of spun as, oh God, poor Demeter, suffering this awful grief. But actually, she's ravaging climate havoc on the world. That's what she's doing, essentially, she initiates an ancient Greek climate crisis. And I thought that was I kind of found that fascinating, the way that, the classic myth is normally focused on the flowers, but actually the devastation that is caused by her wrath and grief. And then by, as you said, you quoted what's on the proof, by the idea of Persephone, actually, where's she in this? She gets shared. She gets shared between her mum and her husband. And I was interested in giving her a voice and a choice, ultimately.
A voice and a choice. This is such a feminist retelling. I haven't finished the novel yet, but I've started it, and it's absolutely beautifully written, and I'm very excited to finish it. Would you be able to read a little bit of it for us?
Sure, I'll read you the opening. It goes between the mother's and the daughter's voice, and it starts with the daughter's. So the first section is in Persephone's voice. It's dark down here. Not bright night dark, thick through and through dark. I scramble up tunnels, squirm through crevices, and crouch on boulders in the blackness. I feel the fine grain of the limestone under my hands. Soon it will soften into soil, and I will know that I am near the surface. No sound but my breath and the rush of the stream, which I have followed against its downward flow since I left the river far below. I brace myself, arms out against the tunnel walls as the slope steepens, and press on. At last, it levels. I pause inside the hug of the rock. When I arrive, I will again become fair-haired, grey-eyed, tall, slight, an identity of colour, height, weight, which I left up in the light. Down here, I am as dark as stone. I never understood how luminous the night was as a child. I used to fear it, the dark that was not truly dark. Yet now, for years, I have recoiled from the light on my return. Each spring, creation blooms, the birds sing, and I have migraines. No one was ever meant to travel this way, climbing against the gradient of ground and spirit. None of them considered this when the deal was made. I have often thought it would be best if I could stay down with the dead, but not this year. The river has been rising. This year it was higher, wider, swifter than ever before. It burst its banks, it slapped and crept its way into my husband's cave. He had to rescue his tools, hammer, chisel, tongs. There is a sculpture of me with emerald eyes, one of many he has carved out of the limestone. She lies, reclining between rocks, near the entrance to his workshop. This year, the waters covered her. We had to wade past her to reach the ferrywoman, water over our ankles, calves, knees, up to our thighs by the time we stood where the shoreline used to be. We waited. The boat was a speck of light out across the water, unsteady and distant as a star. It isn't safe to cross this year. You'll have to stay here, my husband said. He squeezed my hand. I should have pressed his hand back, soothed him, but I was surprised by the panic that flashed through me. For 9,000 years I have feared crossing that river. I've climbed up to the earth, bringing spring, but feeling like winter. I've dreaded the keen blue sky, the hopeful green. Most of all, I have dreaded the return of hunger.
That was absolutely beautiful, Matilda.
Cool.
It's made me want to listen to the audiobook, actually. Have you read the audiobook yourself?
Yeah, I haven't sorted that out yet. I'm bidding for that.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to do that. April 13th, it hits shelves.
You can pre-order it now, and if it's not in your local bookshop, you say, why aren't you stocking it? That would be because you're clearly not a good bookshop until you have it.
Until you have Matilda Lyser's, and Lyser is spelled Leyser, No Season But the Summer. Matilda, I love this book, and I love what you've done with much in the spirit of Natalie Haynes. If people enjoy Natalie Haynes's books, I think they'll really enjoy this. Of updating this Greek legend and seeing how it pertains to now and making it relevant for now. Can I ask you, is there anything you came to say that you didn't get to say?
We started talking about, I started this by talking about Mothers Who Make. I would say in some ways it's dedicated to my mum. I would say it's a kind of love letter to motherhood, but to care, something that I think could be, what I don't want it to come across at in a way is that to see that motherhood is the, that highly problematic to feminism kind of idea that having a kid will sort you out, and I think what I hope the book is about is how difficult, how highly problematic it is to look after anybody, to care for each other, and yet also how really learning to do that is the only thing that's going to save us. Fairly big stuff.
What a phenomenal challenge to embark on, and how successfully you've done it. Stella Duffy has said of this book, Matilda Lyser's novel takes the eternal polarities, love and hate, life and death, summer and winter, possibility and impossibility, and brings them crashing together in a tumultuous story of gods living alongside humanity, mother-daughter, love and loss, and a glimmer of hope despite it all. You've got some other incredible quotes here. Everybody get out, order this book, or go down to your local independent bookstore. Ideally buy it from somebody who pays their tax if you're going to buy it online. And we hope that you sell lots and lots of copies and you get to write another book immediately.
Thank you very much.
And if anybody is interested in Mothers and Others Who Make, check that out online as well. Any websites or socials where we should follow you, Matilda?
So I'm Matilda in Motion on Twitter and Instagram, and I am shortly going to launch my own website very soon after the book is launched, because I write a monthly blog that came out of leading mothers / others who make, that is very much on the themes of how you navigate this world through care and creativity. Please look out for that as well.
Check that out.
That'll
Give
be
a follow.
matildaliza.co.uk.
Matilda Liza, LEYSER.co.uk. Check it all out. Thank you so much for joining us today on this culture episode of The Guilty Feminist, Matilda Liza. Yay!
Thank you.